Well, I would like to give you some information on the previous expedition. There's still science going on the material that was
No.
Okay. There's still analyses going on, and that's also because, well, there was another point, and I wanted to raise a question, but Martin now already gone. That was about additional funds for analyzing data, because when you get a lot of data, then of course you have the data, but you need to analyze it, and that can take a while. Usually, science is a slow process. And luckily, we had a group of PhD students and students who wanted to participate and do the analysis, and I had a small fund from another project that I could use for C14 dating of a core that we took. Well, you see Liedeke Woelders, who was the lead author of the first publication from one of the sites that we had on the lakes. I go to the situation very quickly. The route from the last expedition, and on the right hand side you see in the top you see the North Atlantic limb of the Gulf Stream, which is bringing you warmth to especially the western part of Svalbard. And you see the eastern islands, Barentsøya and Edgeøya, are in the cold part of the situation close to the Barents Sea. That's really important. Click. Yeah. Then the geology is really important, because when you look at Svalbard, you have, of course, the western part, the islands of Spitsbergen. You have a mixed geology of all kind of rock types with strong folding in the structures. So you have granite, you have metamorphic rocks, you have sedimentary rocks of all types. And when you see Barentsøya and Edgeøya, that's completely different. And there you have only sedimentary rocks. Almost only sedimentary rocks, shales, sandstones, siltstones, and if you are lucky, you have a little bit more. Oops, click here. And these are the positions where there is an outcrop of an intrusive rock type, which is the dolerite. And these dolerites, they are in fact the only place where you can find good lakes for research, because there are several other lakes. But they do not contain that much water, and what is also really important, that they catch in a lot of sediment. So if you want to investigate sediment influx in lakes, then you should go to these siltstones and sandstones. But in the dolerites, you have isolated basins. It's a hard rock type. It's like a sort of a basalt, where you can have isolated basins which contain a lot of sediments, but particularly also organic material that accumulates and can go far back in time. At least when you're high enough. When you're close to the sea level, then you have only 1,000 years maybe. But when you go higher up, because the island is rising and growing out of the sea level, the higher you go, the older records you can get. So we selected a few sites. Southern tip of Barentsøya, and also here and here. We couldn't land over there because of a polar bear, but we managed to get two lakes scored. And this is on the southern tip of Barentsøya, close to Sund-Neset, next to the Butzburger Hütte and Schøyen. And there we caught, together with some help, carried the boxes up to the lake, and we caught from the lake. We caught one sediment record. Here. First, we did a bathymetric analysis to go for the deepest part, and then we caught in the deepest part to get a sequence that is as long as possible. And this is in fact the schematic view of this lake next to the sea. It's because of the land is rising, because of melting of the ice that had on top of it. You have a lowering of the sea level, in fact, and what you get is a marine deposit at the base. When it was still at sea level, and when it was lifted above sea level, then you have a change to a completely terrestrial site. So it becomes a freshwater lake with a lot of organic material from algae and plants that grew around the lake. So we caught at that spot and tried to find a fantastic record. And this is the first publication out of it. And it consisted only of the top 30 centimeters of the sequence. in which we did some highly detailed analyses. Lineke was the lead author of that. She performed most of the analyses, and several other ones who also contributed to part of the coring and the analyses and dating. Well, this is Lineke. For her, the credits. She also, well, she likes to be in lakes, but she's now in Boulder, in Colorado, together with her husband. Not doing any really scientific work anymore. And she's a mother, which is also very important. 2 fantastic children. This is the print, the main print of the first results from this core. It's really important when you look at the core. There is a lot of things going on in the palynology. So look at pollen grains, look at algae. In this case, Pediastrum. Yeah, it's a Pediastrum spores. These are green algae. Kichi Ackerman, she looked at the diatoms, and what was important that we saw, there was an enormous bloom in Pediastrum algae, especially in the top of the sequence, and it coincides with an increase in organic matter. You can also see an increase in organic matter, but it's not associated to a large bloom in algae. Just a little bit. And we performed dating on it with a series of dates, lab dating, C14 dating, and we could place this at around 1990 to 1995, this onset. And this previous onset of organic matter is in the 1950s. So that's coincides with the increase of temperature. But particularly this enormous increase seems to coincide, and there Jan Leenaars as co-author came in, with the distribution of sea ice around Barents Area. And with less sea ice, you get a stronger increase in temperature on the tip of this southern part of Barents Area. And the decrease of sea ice, so the increased length of open water, seems to coincide perfectly with the increase in algae. There's no signal of strong eutrophication, so more how you call it, fertilization of the lake by sediments or something in the sequence. And you cannot see it also in the diatoms. So it's mainly temperature, a longer growing season, so more biological production in the lake. And I heard from, I don't know, well, I think you told it about the blooming, about the algae, higher temperatures up to 16 degrees in lake water during one of the previous summers. So that's in fact what is happening. And sea ice thus is an important factor. So when there's less sea ice, you get a stronger increase, and sea ice is linked, of course, to climate change. And that is important. And I show a few slides more, but because we also cored deeper, and we cored to the base of the lake, and we caught the isolation of the lake system, where it became isolated from the sea. And that was some 4,000 years ago. Then it rose up, and we could date it because we found a lot of remains of Salix polaris leaves in the core that can be easily dated with C14, and we were able to make a nice H-depth plot out of it. Here you can see an H-depth plot showing the C14 dated samples, and Stan Schouten, present here, he looked for other components in the lake. He looked for volcanic ashes from Iceland or from other regions, and he found some candidates. And we had to, we still have to do the analysis on the geochemistry of these ashes, but likely these are from Hekla volcano, some known large eruptions from the Hekla 3, and here the Weidenbotten, and another one which is unknown so far. It could well be that we have these features in this lake. And then the Salix polaris forest, because this lake is grown, around this lake there is a forest of Salix polaris. It's not a really large tree, but it's only this size, but it is growing fast. You can see the spread over the years. And it is in fact a green cover around it, which is also limiting the sediment flux towards these specific lakes on the Dolomites. So the hard rock type over there. I sampled during the expedition several, at all the landings, I sampled leaves and compared them to the present day temperatures from meteorological stations, and there you see the influence of this warm Gulf Stream. The leaves are larger at this site than they are over here because they have experienced a longer growing season. And that's something that we want to continue with our research, to look at the leaf structure, so the undulation index, which is linked to the growing of the leaves. We could see differences, and we want to collect more leaves and also further back in time to find maybe a growing season length reconstruction parameter in it. So, conclusions. Yes, that lake that was isolated 4,000 years ago. That's at some 20 meters above sea level. So we want to go higher up, probably to find a higher lake which contains even more sediment. Clear climate changes are recorded. Oh, I didn't, forgot to mention that. But you see here the present day warming, anthropogenic warming, but also a cold phase over here, which coincides with a little ice age, medieval climate optimum, Dark Ages cold period over here, and here the Roman War period. It's recorded in the organic content only. So that's at least what we think. So we want to go back and look at growing season dynamics, at tephrochronology to support the age, and Cecile, she is willing to analyze the cores that we still have in our cold storage from this of the previous expedition for geochemistry on high resolution with X-ray scanner at NEOS and Texel. So to be continued. And I close with a picture of the forest. We will not see it like this. So this is the willow forest on. I think this was Bonsund here. Yeah.